Hey everyone,
It's Shipra.
and it's Shivam, and we're
We're
back.
back.
Yeah, for another vlog. This time we're coming to you from Virginia for a wedding of one of Shipra's friends from college. So it's going to be a little bit interesting as far as weddings go because this is one we haven't been to before. It's a little bit of a cultural mix. So Shipra's friend is Bengali, and she's getting married to an American guy. So it's going to be kind of like a fusion wedding. So we're not quite sure what to expect as of yet. But we'll see how it goes tomorrow, and hopefully we can get a couple clips to share with you as well.
Yeah, should be a fun event.
And this trip is going to be interesting because we're starting here in Virginia, but we're actually going to be moving on after this to Puerto Rico with Shipra's family. Mm-hmm. We're going to be checking out the island as well as seeing some of the beaches and a lot of the natural aspects of the island as well, trying to hopefully hit El Yunque to see the National Forest. So we'll show you that in a separate video as well. And after that, we're going to be going back to Ohio for yet another wedding. Finally, we'll head back to the Bay, back home.
Yeah, and I think, so we just finished up dinner here. We got some Indian food. We actually tried an Indian place here. The area we're staying in is called Herndon, and it seems like there's a lot of Indian food places around here. So we tried a chaat place called Chaatwala. It was pretty good. Can't compare it to food trucks in the Bay Area, but it was good. We were both craving Indian food after a long day of travel. So for the rest of this trip, we're gonna be here for a few days in the Baltimore, DC area. We're gonna go to the wedding, and we're gonna be able to, maybe go to DC, Baltimore, check out Hopkins. I can show Shivam where I went to school. And then that's gonna be it, and we're gonna fly to Puerto Rico after that. So, yeah.
It should be a good one. We'll see you all in the morning.
So we just finished up with the first half of Ananya's wedding. So that was just the Bengali ceremony, and I think it's a traditional Hindu ceremony with some Bengali culture mixed in. I guess I'm sure they have their own rituals that they perform. Ananya looked really beautiful. It was kind of funny to see Michael go through all the Hindu stuff. That's gonna be you soon.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. We'll kind of see what the Western wedding looks like after this. Yeah, it was a good experience. Like, I think it was nice, simple design, and I think
I liked that. And there wasn't a lot of people either. It was like a intimate ceremony, I think.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Bengali touches in there. Like, they were both wearing these sort of crowns. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Yeah.
So now we're heading back. We're both very hungry. And, well, I'm hangry now, and my dress is, like, giving me a lot of issues, so we're gonna go back, get some lunch, hopefully chill for a little bit, and then we'll be back for the evening portion of the event.
Alright, see you there.
We just finished up with the wedding, and now we're going to the after party soon.
Yeah, I actually like the American part of the wedding a lot better. It was a lot more simple, a lot more straight to the point, much better worded.
Yeah, no, it was really sweet, and I cried a couple times.
Shipra cried like 5 times over the course of that thing.
It was so sweet.
Yeah, the speeches were good.
Yeah.
Everything was good. The food was good as well.
Yeah.
Had an Indian buffet, which we were debating whether there would be one, but it ended up being an Indian buffet.
It was good.
Yeah, it was good. The one thing though, the DJ missed the standard party song. It's not a party unless you play Yeah by Usher.
Yeah,
and he missed it. But
it was still a fun time though. We had a good time.
Yeah, we danced a lot, as you'll see in some of those clips. So we're gonna go check out the after party, then head home
and go to sleep.
Go to sleep
I'm
before
so tired.
Driving down to Richmond tomorrow to meet Shipra's other friend, Dahlia.
See ya. Good night.
Good night. So what are your impressions of the park?
It's a nice park for being in Virginia. There's not a lot of elevation gain, so it's different from what I'm used to, but there's a lot of greenery.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
How do you like it, Dahlia?
It's nice. It's pretty standard for around here, I guess. A lot of greenery.
Yeah.
I like the green.
Some little
a lot
creeks.
of shade.
Yeah.
I like
the shade is good. It's a 2.5-mile trail. I think we might be like halfway through now. Maybe. I don't know.
So we just reached near the end of the trail, and we're here with a nice view of the lake. I guess this is, what was this called? Beaver Lake?
Beaver Lake Trail.
Yeah.
And we're on a floating bridge.
Yeah, the bridge is floating, so it's just like shaking everywhere when you walk on it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of lily pads here. It's very swampy.
But it reminds us of that movie Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like that.
The swamp girl.
Yeah, the swamp girl. I think Shipra's the swamp girl.
I'm not swamp girl. I didn't even read the book. Oh my god, I'm so sweaty. So we just finished up our hike and now we're getting ready to head back. It was fun hanging out, seeing Richmond, and actually this park is probably the best part of Richmond.
Yeah.
I don't know when we're gonna see each other again. Maybe next
someday.
year at
Maybe
the wedding.
It was good meeting you, Dahlia.
Yeah.
It was nice meeting you as well.
All
Good
right.
day. All right.
I'll see you later.
I'll see you
Have
later.
a safe drive home.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye. And I like walk off stage.
So we've had a great time exploring Virginia these past few days, and today we're going to be heading over to Baltimore. But before we head over to Baltimore, we have one last stop here in Virginia, which is near the Dulles Airport, and it's the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. So we're going to be checking it out. There's going to be lots of planes in there, so it'll be a good opportunity to learn a little bit about the history of aviation. Let's go check it out.
SR-71, the Blackbird. It's actually one of the fastest planes ever made. What's really interesting about this is it was actually made in like the mid 60s to 70s, and even despite like it being a while ago, it's still one of the fastest planes. So this was supposed to be sort of a reconnaissance plane. It flies so fast that they say you can actually go the entire length of Ohio, the entire state, before you're able to turn around. And you can go from coast to coast of the US in about an hour. One of the other interesting things about this is that it flies over Mach 3, and because it flies at that speed, it generates a lot of heat. So they had to build the entire plane out of titanium in like a loose fitting so that it would expand when that heat comes and then fit properly when in air. And I think the final important thing to note is they were trying to develop a plane that was reconnaissance. So that means it's not able to be picked up by radar. So you can see at the bottom of the plane, it's very flat. And when it's very flat, it means that when the radar hits it, it only bounces off in one direction, which makes it very hard to detect because you have to be exactly perpendicular to that bouncing off radar to actually pick it up. So because it's flying so fast and because it's so flat on the bottom, it is actually almost undetectable by radar. So this is the Space Shuttle Discovery. It's actually one of the longest serving space shuttles for the US. It went over 150 million miles over its 30-year lifespan and actually had a crew of over 200 people on it. So it's really interesting to see that this has done so many orbits of the Earth already, and it's actually right here in this museum for us to see.
Yeah.
And this is the real thing. It's actually massive in person.
Yeah, I really did not realize that they're so big.
And I think the interesting thing is if you look at it like close up, it looks like it's made of paper mache or something like that, as opposed to what all the other planes are made of, which is like just straight metal or like steel or something like that. It looks like it was handcrafted almost, and it's still going.
Isn't it crazy to think that this thing floats in the air in space? If you look closely, you can see that there's hundreds of parts to this. Is it a rocket? I guess it's a rocket. You can see that each little like tile or block that's placed on the exterior of the ship is very precisely placed, which is really interesting. I guess you need that level of precision for something that's going into space.
We're standing below the Concorde, right here. It's a very long plane. Shipra, can you tell us a little bit about this plane?
Yeah, so this plane can fly at twice the speed of sound, and it was flown for about 25 years. It can carry up to 100 passengers, and can get you all the way from New York City to Europe in less than 4 hours. So it's really fascinating in that sense. It was only in service for about 25 years through Air France and British Airways because it was very, very expensive and people could not afford to take those flights. So it was very much so catered towards like first class clientele. And as a result of that, eventually it was retired and Air France donated it to the Smithsonian.
What's interesting though is that now there's other startup companies trying to bring back supersonic flight for passenger planes. So we'll kind of see how that goes in the future.
I hate long flights.
The question is, will it actually be affordable to any of us?
Well, I think that's the key thing, right? The reason this one was retired was because people don't have money to afford it, so they have to make it cheaper.
Yeah, and then maybe we'll fly it if it gets cheap enough.
It's cheap enough for Shivam. It's less than $50 flight.
So this is the Enola Gay, which is a B-29 bomber. It was used heavily during World War II. But the really interesting thing about this one is actually this is the one that dropped the first atomic bomb in Hiroshima. It's quite surprising. It's actually still here.
Kind of sad to see, honestly.
Yeah, it's a little bit sad. The partner plane that dropped the other bomb in Nagasaki is out in Dayton, Ohio, at the other museum.
We'll have to take you there.
But yeah, it's sad. I mean, in one way, it was kind of seen as the definitive end of the war in the Pacific with the Japanese, but many people have argued since that the Japanese were already on the retreat even before the atomic bomb was dropped.
Yeah.
So it's very controversial. And I'm sure we'll actually see a lot of this controversy play out in the new movie coming out soon, Oppenheimer, where they actually build the atomic bomb.
End of July.
Yeah. One last look at the museum before leaving. What were your overall impressions?
It's good. I liked it a lot. I learned a lot. I've been to the Dayton Air and Space Museum, but it's been a long time since I went there, so it was cool to see some of the like famous planes, and I honestly was most impressed by the Discovery rocket. That was the coolest thing. I've never seen that in person, so that was really cool.
Yeah, I think definitely the highlights of this museum, which I think everyone comes to see, is right here, the Blackbird, and then the Discovery space shuttle back there. But it's huge. I haven't been to such a big museum before.
Really?
I don't think there's anything this big.
Yeah, there's a lot of open space here. Now we're going to head back to the car and head over to DC because Shivam wants to see Abraham Lincoln. Just got to DC and we're in the central area where there's all the different historic sites. So here's the Washington Monument. So just a little bit about the Washington Monument. It was built in 1848 and it is 555 feet tall. And at one point it was actually the tallest building in the world for about 5 years until it was taken over by the Eiffel Tower. And this building was built to commemorate George Washington.
Yeah, it's really interesting that it's still standing to this day and is still kind of the monument associated with America.
I thought I read somewhere that it can like sway too or something like that.
Yeah, I think they've been rebuilding a lot of it over the years to just be more like weatherproof, earthquake-proof, that sort of thing. And you can even take an elevator up to the top now. But yeah, it's really nice. The last time I was here in DC, I couldn't even really see like the bottom of this place. Like it was completely fenced off because they were doing construction. So it's cool to see it now. So we're here at the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool. So this is leading all the way down that way to the Lincoln Memorial, which we're gonna go check out now.
You've never seen it?
I've never been to it, no. I haven't been to this park either.
Oh, okay.
I've only seen this park in shows and stuff, like House of Cards on Netflix.
Wait, that's so funny because I feel like there's very few places on this earth that I've been to that you haven't been to.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to go see. But this is a really nice and peaceful place, actually. I like this park a lot. It's a really massive park, actually, to be right in the middle of everything here in DC.
It's very clean, too.
Yeah, it's very clean. We're coming up on the Lincoln Memorial right here. It was built actually in the 1920s. For those that don't know, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Quick highlights: 16th President of the U.S., responsible for the, I believe, 13th and 14th Amendments to end slavery, ended the Civil War. Yeah, awesome president all around. Actually, one interesting point of debate these days is actually Lincoln was a Republican. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I would have thought he was a Democrat.
So the interesting thing is that back in that time, Democrats were actually the ultra-conservative party. And they were actually deemed to be very racist at the time as well. And Republicans were more of the progressive party. And it's,
Now that's changed.
yeah, that's completely swapped. So it's kind of cool to see how like these political parties evolve over time and how the party is actually extremely different from what it used to be. So let's go check out the Lincoln Memorial. We can also see the Washington Monument right behind us, right at the end of the reflecting pool.
Up with lunch. We got a place called Shuk, which is like Mediterranean food, but it was fully vegan and it was okay. I think it's a local chain to DC and we want to try it out, but I think I've had better. They had some interesting like mushroom based like shawarmas and salads and stuff. So next we're heading to Johns Hopkins University and I'm going to be showing Shivam where I went to school. Because of Juneteenth, the university like cafes and libraries and stuff are closed, but I think that's okay. We're just gonna walk around the outside. I can show Shivam around a little bit, and then there's a few potential places we can go for dinner if we get hungry, but if not, we might just head to the hotel after that, right?
Yeah. We just reached Shipra's alma mater, the Johns Hopkins University.
It's pretty underwhelming.
Well, I haven't been here in probably like 12, 13 years or so. When I came here, we were looking for schools for Didi, and it looks a lot nicer than it did last time, so I'll give it that.
I haven't been here since I graduated because I didn't really have much of a desire to come back, but it's nice to walk the streets again. There's a lot of like new developments going on.
Yeah, yeah. What were you just telling me about this place right behind us?
It's like a green area. It's called the beach.
Oh.
That's where people used to hang out.
Is that your beach now?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's your definition of beach, just a bunch of grass?
Anyways, let's keep walking and I'll show you like where I went to classes and stuff like that.
I can see why now Shipra is so obsessed with beaches whenever we go anywhere.
Yeah,
because
definitely because of this one.
Because this is the type of beach she had before. It's just grass in the middle of the city. And then in Ohio, there is basically no bodies of water unless you go to the lakes.
It left much to be desired.
What left much to be desired?
This. This entire place left much to be desired. So
On a tour.
That's the library over there.
That's where you used to hang out.
Hang out. I spent
Yeah.
all my time there. Spent
Shipra,
every waking hour of every day there.
Shipra was a big nerd in college. All she did was study.
Now I'm the opposite. I have low motivation now. So this is Birdie Learning Commons. It's like kind of co-working space where we used to study. And there's a cafe in here that basically fueled me through all of undergrad. Triple shot espressos, mocha javas, and veggie burgers. That's what got me through college. But it's sadly closed today, which makes me sad because I really wanted to get a mocha java. But it's fine, I'll get it somewhere else.
Instead, she has to make do with this smoothie.
Pure Greens, $10 smoothie.
Was it worth $10?
No. This is Gilman Hall. That's where we had a lot of our like liberal arts type of classes. And then on the right and left, you can see kind of like, this side I think was more like social sciences, and then this side was engineering. So I had a lot of my classes on this side, and we're gonna walk over into the engineering quad now.
So we're walking through all the places Shipra used to have classes, and then there was a performance hall over there where she used to dance. And she was just telling me that, who are you gonna send here?
I wasn't telling you anything. You had suggested something.
I suggested that we send Cheerio here for his undergraduate education. I think he can pursue a PhD in dog pooping sciences.
This is Clark Hall. This is where I did all my BME classes as an undergrad. And unfortunately we can't go inside again. It's all locked. But there's a BME design studio upstairs. I spent an unhealthy amount of time in there, but that's where I probably got the only relevant skills that I use today because it was more hands-on. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the campus. Like, there's not much more to it.
For relative distance, we have walked about 5 minutes total on this entire campus.
There's stuff on the other side, but it's more like there's like a sciences building, the gym, and like the track and field and stuff is over there, but I never really ventured in that direction because unless I had chemistry class, I didn't venture in that direction.
So coming back here, what is your perception of Johns Hopkins University versus some of the other places you've seen now? Because we've been to UCSD, been to UCLA.
Well, I think it's dependent on the individual experience. Like for me, this was a very high stress environment and I did not enjoy my time here really. When I go to other places, I'm like, wow, this looks so cool, people look so happy, but I think it's hard to know if people actually are. I think the pressure you put on yourself in college is self-inflicted and sometimes a consequence of your peers as well. I think coming here, like, I had so many very, very smart people that I was like kind of competing against, if you will. So I always felt like I wasn't smart enough, but I think once I went to the real world, I realized that a lot of the skills I was learning here, mostly just theoretical stuff, wasn't really that useful in a practical setting. Like having people skills and being able to communicate and write well and solve different types of problems are just not things that you learn in college. So, I mean, I think to answer your question, I think it's whatever. Like some of the other universities look nicer, but I don't know what people's lives are actually there. Hopefully they're not as stressed as I was when I was in college.
UCSD looked a lot nicer, I feel. Like, you know, you're by the beach, you have a lot going on, big campus, new buildings. But I feel like the content of the actual education itself was in many ways useless.
Yeah, and
actually,
I think that's most colleges.
I think the thing is, like, undergrad is actually pretty standardized across almost every school. Like the actual classes you take, especially for computer science, the classes are exactly the same. They almost have the same slides too, like between professors, between institutions.
And actually when I was here, I felt like a lot of the professors that I had, they like had to hold, like they were doing research, but like there was for some reason they needed to hold a faculty position and that's why they were teaching. So I don't think a lot of them were teaching because
they had a vested interest in actually helping students.
So as a result of that, I never really felt like the professors were, I mean, some of them were, but most of them felt like they weren't very invested in the actual learning,
So Shipra, tell us a funny story about your times here at Johns Hopkins.
So one time I was walking to chemistry class in the morning at like 8 a.m. and it's in that direction that we didn't go. And it was a very long walk from where I lived. Like it was at least a 15 to 20 minute walk from where I lived. I walked all the way there and like in the morning when I got up, I realized there was like a little rip in my pants. Like I was like, oh, like it's a pair of leggings that was ripped a little bit at the seam. And I was like, oh, like it's whatever, like I'm just going to class and coming back, like what's the worst thing that can happen, right? So I'm walking back, I get to about here, like about 10 minutes away from where I need to go, and the entire seam just rips all the way down and comes apart. Like, so I literally walk home, like grabbing my legging and just like walking the entire time, because if I didn't, it would have exposed everything. So that was really embarrassing.
Last look at Johns Hopkins before heading out.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I won't be coming back here for a long time if I can help it, but it was nice to see how it's changed. Honestly, a lot of it feels just kind of the same other than the restaurants. Like, it was kind of untouched, honestly.
Well, to me it feels a lot different, but
you came a long time ago.
Yeah. It's nice. This is where Shipra did her stuff. Right here on the beach. It's just a fantastic beach out here. We got good weather, good waves, good sand. So we're wrapping up our trip to DC. It was a good couple days here. Actually, the last couple of days we're just sitting inside of this hotel room working.
But it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
Nevertheless, we're heading to Puerto Rico today. We have our flight later tonight.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part of DC?
Well, let's just say what was my favorite part of this area. I loved attending Ananya's wedding. It was just really sweet and I had a really good time. I think other than that, the DC-Baltimore area isn't that exciting for me, mainly because I lived in this area for 4 years, so I've pretty much seen everything, and
there's not that much to see. Although I did like the aviation museum. That was a new thing I hadn't seen before,
Yeah.
so that was pretty cool. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the wedding, I think the aviation museum was really cool, and I like seeing the Lincoln Memorial. I haven't actually seen it up close in person. It's a lot bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen that Shivam hasn't seen.
But yeah, so that kind of wraps up our trip here to the DC area.
Yeah.
So we'll see you in the next vlog when we are in Puerto Rico.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.